Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I am Megan, the Healing Foods Coach. Today, I'm going to talk about the topic of this concept of everything in moderation. So, for those of us who have followed the standard Western diet, okay, is specifically what I'm addressing, we have been told that everything is okay with moderation. Now, the trouble I've always had with that idea is that moderation, according to what? One person's idea of moderation is not the same as someone else's. And that can easily get us into trouble, especially when it comes to the foods we choose to eat, how much of it we eat, and how frequently we eat them. This is especially difficult, I think, if we are eating a diet that is high in seed oils, processed and refined sugars, and grains, as well as, of course, processed carbohydrates. So everything that comes in a package, whether it's pre-made bread, whether it's cereal in a box, whether it's a chocolate bar, anything that has been made in a factory and put into a wrapper or a package of some kind that can stay on the shelf. This is where we get into trouble. Why is that? Because first of all of these food items, I use the term loosely, okay, all of these things are scientifically engineered to be highly addictive and tasty. Why? Well, obviously, because the big companies, the big food producers want to make money. And if they want to make sure that people keep coming back day after day and week after week, month after month, and year on year, they're going to make sure that their food is the tastiest and most addictive possible. They do it on purpose for a reason. Okay. And so it is no wonder that so many people find it so difficult to give up junk food. Like, and regardless of whatever diet you decide you're going to go on, you start out fresh. It's a brand new year. You're going to cut back on your junk food. You're going to cut back on sweets. You're going to go to the gym every day. You're going to lose that weight. And of course, we have all the right intentions. We want to do these things. We want to feel better. We want to be healthy. Maybe it's just me, but I remember when I was living in those days, how easy it was to have one cheat, one moment. Oh, I'm just going to have a chocolate bar. I'm going to have one cookie. I was at the gym 3 days this week. I'm going to treat myself to a cookie or a brownie or something. And how quickly that became, I'm going to have one cookie today. Now I need a cookie every day. Now I need to have sweets several times a day. Why? Because these things are scientifically designed to keep us addicted. And so while one person may be able to have one chocolate bar one day a week, most of us are not. And it becomes very easy to go back and have multiple chocolate bars, multiple sweets, multiple bags of potato chips, or whatever the snack is, because why? It's made for us. It's in a package, tastes delicious, hits all of the good flavor explosions on our tongue, lights up our brain, and that's it. The idea of I'll do it one day a week. I'll have one cheat day a week. I'll eat just one treat today becomes very quickly eating it on a consistent basis. And it doesn't matter how great a willpower is, these things are highly addictive. And so I think part of the challenge with trying to eat things in moderation is that if we have any sort of addictive brain or personality, we can never stop with just one, right? So this idea of something in moderation is simply not possible. And it's not because we don't want to, and it's not because we know we need to cut out the junk food. It's because it's addictive. You know, studies have shown that the effects of sugar on the brain is exactly the same as the effects of cocaine and heroin, literally. And so it's no wonder that it is so difficult for people not only to try to moderate that, but to quit those things. So why do I share that? Because especially for the processed sugars, And the junk food, as long as we allow ourselves a little taste, it's going to be almost impossible to, never mind moderate it, but cut it out. So if you guys have watched my videos, you'll know that one of the things I recommend to everybody, regardless of where on this healing diet spectrum you choose to fall, whether you choose to keep some fruit and vegetable in your diet and you want to follow more low carbon keto, whether you want to follow, which in my opinion is a form of carnivore from the perspective of you are eating at least 70% of your food sources from an animal product. Okay. A ketogenic protocol is all about trying to get our bodies into ketosis, whereas that is not something that is really focused on, particularly when we are what would be considered more on the stricter carnivore approach. Okay. So we're not talking about being in ketosis necessarily, but the difficulty becomes that it is much harder to follow the protocols if we don't get out this idea of everything in moderation. Because let's be honest, based on the high amounts of obesity, of type 2 diabetes, of cardiovascular disease, things like brain fog and dementia in this world, clearly the majority of us cannot moderate everything, which is why we're in this position to begin with. We are trying to moderate highly addictive foods, and we're basically set up to fail. The big food companies do not want us to moderate their products. They want us to be so addicted that we can't get through the day without our afternoon chocolate bar, without our mid-morning cookie with our coffee or tea. It's for a purpose. Now, does that mean that we can never get those things out of our diets? No, not at all. It is possible. However, I think having the approach of everything in moderation is perhaps not the best way to do it. Okay, here's a test. Here's kind of what I think of as a litmus test. All right, let's say you've decided you don't want to follow this standard Western diet protocol any longer because you are still carrying extra weight. Maybe you're pre-diabetic, maybe you're already type 2 diabetic, and you want to make some major changes. And one of the things is, that you have to cut back or cut out refined sugars, okay, and lower your carbohydrate intake. That's absolutely important. And regardless of whatever health issues or things have brought you to that point, it's a good thing to do anyways. Okay, so let's say you've decided to do that, which is fantastic, right? As long as you continue to keep sweet or less sweet tastes or sugary things in your diet, even if it's on occasion, you're going to find it very difficult to not find them addictive. And I think it's almost impossible to moderate these highly palatable, highly processed, and highly addictive foods. I don't know anybody offhand, there are probably some out there, who can sit down, open a small little mini bag of potato chips, eat what's in the bag, and then have no other junk for let's say a week. I don't know anybody who can do that. And it's not because, you don't want to, and it's not because you haven't got enough willpower. It's because your brain is now so used to the light up chemicals that you receive from eating this junk that it feels as though it cannot cope without it. That is the nature of eating highly addictive foods. It happens with anything we put in our bodies that becomes addictive, whether it's nicotine, whether it's caffeine. For some people, it's alcohol. Others, it could be illicit drugs. Anything that can result in an addictive response, those are things we have to try to get rid of, okay? Because we will never be able to have them in moderation. And the best way to find out if you have some level of addiction to something is see how long you can go without it, right? Because even if you're moderating, you're still consuming it and putting it in your body. If you try to cut it out fully, and let's say the result is migraines or severe migraines or some level of headaches, feeling nauseous, feeling achy, feeling foggy, that is a sign that you are going through withdrawal, which means you had an addictive response to that particular item. So my suggestion, and I suggest this to people I work with, and I've done this myself, is let's say you decide, okay, maybe I'm not quite ready for full strict carnivore. I want to ease my way into keto low carb. That's great. But I want to do it super slowly. I'm going to start by cutting down on sugar. Fantastic place to start. Now, there are some people out there who enjoy sugar, but they find they can very slowly wean themselves off. And what they do in many cases is wherever possible, they substitute sugar for a sweetener. And that can help them. And that's a great tip for a transition period. But if you know that you have a sweet tooth, I think that's just really a nice way of saying that you have an addictive response to sugar. And how can you tell? Go for a couple of days without having any sugar of any kind in your body. And if your response to it is what we would associate with withdrawal symptoms of headaches, feeling slightly nauseous, feeling achy, feeling foggy, feeling irritable, well, that tells you right there's no way you'll be able to moderate your intake because you are having withdrawal symptoms. Therefore, you have an addictive response to, in this particular case, sugar. Now, I would say that even if that is the case, it is still a great idea to cut out refined sugar. Okay. It doesn't help our bodies in any way. It simply keeps our blood glucose elevated. It keeps our insulin elevated. And any excess that we take into our bodies can only ever be stored as body fat. And we are trying to get rid of that in most cases. So if you're going to move into a low carb keto carnivore approach, my first suggestion is cut out sugar. Now, I would include with that the highly sugary or highly sweet fruits, okay, that are higher in fructose and glucose. But especially start with the refined sugars. You will probably be shocked to discover how many things actually have sugar in them that don't even taste sweet. Okay, like a lot of soups and sauces have sugar. Seriously, I don't know why. It's not necessary. But try cutting out, see how you feel if you try to cut out sugar for a couple of days. And if you have the responses I've described, then that would tell me that you likely will not have success trying to moderate because you have an addictive response to the sugar and therefore you're going to have a withdrawal. So if you are on board and you are determined that absolutely you're going to eliminate all the refined processed sugar, that's amazing. And it can be done. But I will say up front and warn you, you are going to feel probably like garbage for a few days because your body is going to go through withdrawal. However, it is absolutely worth it. Why? For one thing, you're not consistently spiking your blood glucose and your insulin levels, which is great. For the other thing, that part of your brain, especially that has an addictive response to the sugar, is not going to be consistently and constantly fed. And it is eventually going to allow you to access fat for fuel, which is far more effective and a better long-term source of energy for your body. So everything in moderation, I totally disagree. And for most of us, many of us, if not most of us, we aren't able to moderate, which is how we end up in the situation that we do. So I think that now some people can have a bit of dessert and then leave it because maybe their addictive response isn't to the sugars. Theirs could be to the seed oils or the highly refined and processed carbohydrates like breads and pasta and rice dishes. So not everybody has that response to sugar, but if it's not the sugar, then try the same thing. If you know that you are like you crave carby, salty things, and that's your weakness, a weakness, which is not a failure of willpower, by the way. It's your body and your brain have an addictive response to this particular food item. And so in many ways, it's not your fault. Okay. It is not your fault. And it's not about having the willpower. It's about understanding that your brain particularly, and therefore, and also the rest of your body, is having an addictive like response to these processed carbohydrates and seed oils. That doesn't mean that you can never get past it, but it does mean you're going to have to make a clean break. Moderation in this regard is likely not going to work for you because you have such an addictive response to it. I was that way, certainly with sugar and definitely with processed carbs. I had issues with both. Okay. I had to quit both immediately. And the first few days, it did suck. I felt foggy and brain fogged and not myself and highly irritable and exhausted and headaches and, all of the common things we associate with any type of withdrawal from a highly addictive product. Again, something similar to what people can feel when they stop drinking. So getting the alcohol out of their bodies, people when they quit smoking, people when they quit caffeine, people when they quit certain, highly addictive type drugs. Similar response. The brain doesn't really differentiate between these different items other than I need this, I need this, I need this, I want this, and oh, it's not there. Okay, but that is the best way to break that addictive response and start healing our brains and our bodies. So for most people, everything in moderation simply doesn't work. Because if it did, we wouldn't be as overweight and as sick as we are as a society of humans, So it may not be sugar for you. It might be the highly refined processed carbs. It might be the seed oils. It might be the sugars. It might be a combination of all of them. But I highly recommend you get rid of all of that. And even if you don't go any further, just getting those things alone out of our diets is going to make a huge difference. Absolutely, without a doubt in my mind, this is the case. So that was kind of today's topic. I hope this was informative. I hope this helped you guys in some way. Please feel free to drop me a line. Please feel free to share with me your journey, where you're at. What are you doing? How are you getting through these challenges personally? Because I love hearing from you guys. And if you are looking for any sort of support, I, of course, offer one-to-one coaching, and I can absolutely help you guys through these challenges. As I say, my addictive response was to kind of everything, the sugars, the seed oils, and the starchy carbs. And I had to cut them all out. And it wasn't easy. The first few days really sucked, really sucked. But once I got through the initial withdrawal period, I felt way, way better. And I have no interest and no desire to go back to that. So it is absolutely possible. And I think part of that, again, is looking at ourselves going, can I really moderate? Like, can I really just have, a single piece of toast once a week? Or do I feel the need to eat bread with everything? Or do I have to have the French fries and the mashed potato and all the starchy vegetables? Yes, but also the potato chips, etc. And it's about being honest with ourselves, not beating ourselves up. Okay, again, these things are designed to be addictive. They're supposed to be, because that's what keeps us going back and buying the product. So don't blame yourself, but I think it's where we need to look at ourselves very honestly and say, look, if I was to not have potato chips every day, how would I feel? And if you're not sure, try it. See how you feel. If you start to get anxious about it, if you're like, I have to have this, I have this craving, I have to fulfill this craving, right there, you're having an addictive response to that particular food. And therefore, it's something you should probably get out of your diet. But I can absolutely help you get through that process. I work with all kinds of clients from all different backgrounds, from honestly from elite athletes and very active people to people with very limited mobility. And so I can absolutely help you if that's something you're looking for, with the details being down at the bottom of the screen at www.healingfoodscoach.com. Book a session and we can absolutely work together and get healing. Let's get our brains and therefore our bodies healthy and off this addiction cycle. And truly, it is far more prevalent than many of us realize. I didn't think my sweet tooth was a sugar addiction. I just thought I like sweet things. I didn't think my need to have potato chips and French fries as a side option was an addiction. I thought it was, I just liked those things till I had to get rid of them. And once we realize that, that's a good place to be, because then we can go forward and we can take the action we need to. All right, so guys, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope that this has been informative and helpful. Please feel free to leave me your comments below, as you guys often do. Thank you so much for subscribing. Always appreciate your support. Feel free to share this with anyone else that you think might benefit. And I will see you guys next time in the next video. That's it for now. Take care. Have yourselves a fantastic day. Thanks again. Bye for now.